I was on a trip to South America in the summer of 1982. Practically everybody I was talking with, they were all saying, we just can't understand this administration of the United States. They're not paying much attention to and not understanding what's going on in South America. They don't seem sensitive to the human rights abuses. They seem not to be seeing the evidence that the financial situation is unviable, and they don't care. So I went back. I made an appointment to go talk to Saul Linowitz. Linowitz said, you know, a number of Latin Americans come to see me, and they're all saying exactly the same thing you are. So I agree with you. We ought to organize a meeting.
At the creation of the dialogue, there was the belief that people from different parts of the hemisphere who cared about particular countries and in many cases about the region as a whole ought to come together to exchange views and to try to inform not only each other, but the governments of the United States and the governments of the region.
I became acquainted with the Inter-American Dialogue in the 80s via Abraham Lowenthal, one of its founders. And I established a very close relationship with an organization that I admired, that I supported, and that had an agenda very dear to my heart, which was having a presence for Latin America in Washington.
I was just looking the other day at the program of the first meeting of the dialogue, which didn't have a name yet. It was just an ad hoc conference at the Wilson Center. But it was a very interesting, diverse group of people. It was not people who shared a particular political perspective.
It was a space for finding North Americans that were sensitive to those issues and will share the values.
Our idea was to let the sort of debate and the discussions among leaders and analysts carry the day.
To watch Saul Linowitz chair a meeting of the Inter-American Dialogue was to see perfection as to how to bring a cacophony of noises in a direction so that you begin to get convergence of analysis and at times the possibilities of consensus.
You meet people from many walks of life and from all of the countries across the hemisphere. So you develop friendships and you hear from people from those countries what's going on in those countries rather than through the filters and this and that.
That's why it was called the dialogue. It was not called unanimity. The expectation was you had to listen to people whom you do not agree and to try to come together.
The relationship between the United States and Latin America has changed dramatically in the 35 years of the dialogue's existence. Today, I think we're in a different era. You have a lot of issues having to do with immigration and trade, and that's really where the issue has shifted. There's also a really big problem right now, not with international security, but just with citizen security. So I think addressing that new set of challenges between the U.S. and Latin America is one of the areas where the dialogue has played a very important role.
One of the most important things is that the dialogue forces one to think deeply, to really get a full understanding of things.
I found the dialogue really very helpful during the course of my 4 years as U.S. Trade Representative. I thought they reached out, they had information, and they were interested in the prosperity of the entire Western Hemisphere.
The Inter-American Dialogue is even more important now than in the past because it is trying to bring people from the new administration to dialogue with people from the rest of the hemisphere, from Latin America.
The discussions and all the research and data that the organization creates is really essential for the development of the region.
I think there's just so much we can do to bring the rest of the continent together with the folks here in the United States who care about the region, especially folks like me who are essentially of both worlds.
The changes have been dramatic over the last decades. Dialogue is doing more activities and events in the region than it's done before.
If ever there was a time to dialogue and for communication, it is now because of the uncertainty of the age in which we live. There are a number of things that are confronting us now, and very often it's important to see where the common platforms are that unite us rather than focusing on what divides us.
United States and Latin America must be partners. We need to cooperate.
In terms of the future, it might be important for the dialogue to begin to extend its conversations outwards. I noticed on the agenda for this meeting we're addressing the issue of China and the Caribbean, which is an important thing to do.
We have to recognize that these societies are undergoing very, very rapid changes. And there are new leaders emerging. And to be on top of that and to try to engage the most influential people in different sectors and different spheres of society.
I serve on quite a few different boards. This is one of my favorite ones because I really like the organization. It's very small and they really care, and I felt like I could make a difference there.
There's a family spirit that is there. We must never lose it, no matter how sophisticated we become. And that is one of the great gifts that the IAD has given to our hemisphere. And I'm very, very proud to be a small part of it.